I told you the story would take 10,000 years. I really hope to be done before 10:30 because it's like 6 minutes past 10. So let me just run through the details, okay? I started to get past a whole bunch of shade by SMs. People who didn't know me now knew me, and they were intimidated by me, okay? And I was like, whatever. I didn't think much of it until one day I sent out a report. Remember, my reports were going to the CEO because I'm running a company-wide program, and their boss, who is the CEO, wants feedback from the program because it is basically his own life source alongside the executive of marketing, everybody's life source. Because remember, they are changing executives like that, like underwear, like panties. So if everybody has got an incentive to do really well on this program, and I send as the program manager, I send out a global email daily. I was sending to the whole mailing list minutes of a meeting, and in one of the minutes of the meeting, I basically, there was a feud, okay, that was happening between some staff members in the project, and they were mistreating each other, speaking down to each other type thing, and exchanging these pleasantries on email. And I happened upon it. And because I'm very jocose and I can be creative, I highlighted that, guys, basically something along the lines of, why can't we all just get along? Please don't. Let's talk collegially with each other. Everybody's under pressure. We get it. But can we just be collegial? No need to throw bombs. No need to throw stones. Type establishment thing. That's all I said. I did not highlight anybody. I did not say anything. The CEO, apparently in a meeting with his subordinates, the executives, raised it on some, so what exactly is going on? Who's fighting down in these streets? And why aren't you managing your teams? Why are they throwing stones? Why are they speaking badly to each other in meetings? There's no such time for that right now. The morale of people needs to be kept up. Spirits must be raised. So y'all need to go and talk to your team members to not be rude over email. I agree with what Karabo has written in this email. People should not be throwing stones. So please go and talk to your teams to keep themselves in a bunch, because I don't like it when people are fighting. For the first time, executives were rebuked because of some little girl, what they imagined to be some little girl. Do you understand? And I was not even complaining about the execs, but their team members who were acting like baboons on the floor, basically mean to each other over email. Never mind, it wasn't it was below the belt commentary, fights over email. You get my point. You understand what I'm trying to say. He then raised it with these people on some deal with handle your people, handle your staff. And these men and women walked out of that meeting on some, we have literally just been given a talking to over some girl. Who is she? Well, what does she know? Yo, guys, underestimation. Just because they didn't know me, and just because I was just yesterday a project manager, and just because their boss, the CEO, that's what arrogance and a lack of humility does to a person. Just because their boss honored my email in a way that caused them to get basically given a talking to. I don't even think it was harsh. It was just saying, handle your people. I then ended up getting the marketing executive. Yeah, my boss, yes, thank you. The next morning, my boss comes and sits, the meeting that we used to have every single morning. He says to me, Karabo, I don't appreciate you raising, what is this, program politics with people. I was like, what are you talking about? He was like, stuff like raising the fact that people are rude over email is not necessary to put in your minutes. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Did somebody complain? And then that's when he told me that, oh no, the CEO basically told the guys, his own staff members, to his executives, to put his people in a bunch because rudeness is just not acceptable in an organization. I was like, yeah, okay. So you're not even rebuking me because the CEO did not like that I highlighted it. You're rebuking me because he was so glad to find out that he told his people to deal with the issue. That's why I got announced. So that's when my boss started passing me shade. That's when he started giving me grief. That's when he started to act strange, right? And I then noticed that he was becoming less and less frequent in my meetings. He was starting to get kind of hostile, passive-aggressive, but I was still working in the program. And despite noticing his weird change of behavior, his shiftiness, I was still working in the program. And I continued to do what I did. I tried not to get involved in politics as I was rebuked, all right, by my boss, even though nobody else had qualms with it. And then I send out Never mind sending out. Yeah, what is this? Yes, thank you very much. Goodness, I'm concerned about time. I'm very concerned about time right now. But let me just continue to speak. All right. What do you call this? My boss. So because on the program, I came up with an idea to create a rewards system, an accolade system to encourage people, to motivate people in order to push, their best. I had these like weekly little congratulatory awards that I would type up on email and basically be like, most supportive project manager is this guy, most supportive general manager is this guy, most thank you so much for this and that, and I would highlight the things that have really helped us along in the milestones. Nothing much. I wasn't printing them. I was putting it right on email with my creative talent type thing, and this thing caught fire. It caught fire in that people actually liked being acknowledged for what they did. They liked being given recognition or an award of sorts for what they did. They felt seen, and so it became popular. All right, this is all happening in 1 month. All right, it became popular. My daily accolade little email, the rewarding people for what good work they have done, it became popular to a point where I started getting nominations by bosses and staff members, right? They would send me an email and say, Karabo, please can you recognize this guy because he did this and it really helped me along. And then this person would pop up in the daily acknowledgement email. And it became so popular that I started getting recommendations. My boss, however, wanted to see, what is this? He started to tell me, my boss started to tell me, Karabo, before you send your weekly email out, can I see it first? Not weekly, daily. Before you send your daily email out, can I please see it? I was like, okay, just please make sure that you're around in the office because I have to send it out daily type thing. He was like, no, just let me, if I'm not sitting at my desk, send me a text message and I will read the email and then I'll pretty much give you the go ahead to send it. I was like, okay, cool, whatever. So now he's starting to want to vet what I say, right? The reason why he was asking this is because he wanted to see who was getting accoladed, because there was a strategy brewing underground to remember people are getting insecure. SMs and GMs are getting fired from their jobs. There is still a retrenchment drive going on. People are facing a future of losing their jobs, and they are going to inevitably reduce the size of marketing, reduce the size of our teams, etc. at some point. And the people who get to stay, basically people who get to keep their jobs, are going to be the ones who come out tops at the end of this program. The ones who come out tops at the end of this program. So this rewards system then started to get viewed as something that could one day cause either the loss of a job of somebody or the keeping of someone from being retrenched, from being fired, because they have shown themselves as valuable. And I was impartial in this regard, right? So I was getting people noticed that under normal circumstances were just falling under the radar type establishment thing. I didn't realize that that's the reason why my boss wanted to see that email before I sent it out, because he and a bunch of other a network of other people, largely they were Indian in color, right? So it was like a whole Indian plan, coup strategy. They wanted to put themselves on that list daily, every day, and shine every day so much that by the time retrenchments are happening at the end of this program and everybody's taking stock, this would factor in influencing who goes on, who stays. Now, MTN's retrenchment policy was not LIFO. It was not last in, first out. It was not black and white like that. It was based on a myriad of things, including value add and all that stuff. So if you have been valuable, you could stay, even if you've only been working for the company for 2 weeks. Okay, now that I've put that out there, allow me to indicate what my boss was doing under reps in a shoddy, underhanded capacity with a whole bunch of other people that wanted to keep themselves employed at the expense of others who they were happy should lose their jobs and have to look for new opportunities elsewhere. So this is something that could risk people's careers. One day, I sent an email to my boss showing him these are the people that I want to acknowledge, and pretty much the minutes of the day's happenings and what have you. My boss, instead of saying go ahead send it, right? Instead of my boss doing that, he decides to send the email himself, and he actively removed the name of this one girl and replaced it with the name of some other girl and put his own little acknowledgement reward thing. A man of which is now at this point starting to avoid my meetings. He's not coming to them. So he's not even abreast of affairs of the program as he ought to be. And he is in intentionally sabotaging the prospects of one woman in favor of some other senior manager in marketing that had done nothing. I personally had gone to that senior manager multiple times asking for enablement in a particular regard, and she would ignore me or tell me to come back later. When I come back, she's not there, not respond to my emails. I was really struggling. I had to go via her segment manager just to get anything at all. So I could not see any value in what she was doing for me, but she made her way in that list. She made it into that list, guys. And my boss disrespected me by sending my daily email out on my behalf. That was the beginning of sorrows for me. I started to see that something is going on. There is a deliberate intention to sabotage. There's a deliberate intention to uplift other people and sabotage others. And the people that are being uplifted are being uplifted not of anything they have deserved, but purely because of the fact that they want to keep themselves employed. They were starting to play dirty, you understand? And I wanted nothing to do with this. Not only that, my boss actively one time there was this one general manager in marketing that I wanted to put on my daily rewards list, and he said to me, take that guy out. I was like, why? He's helped me in this and that. And he was like, just take him out, like rudely, just like that. I didn't. I essentially equivalent or tantamount of insubordinated him, because I was not given a valid answer, and I calculated in my mind all the variable things that could potentially happen for sending that email anyway. And I realized that if he were to take this matter to HR, if he were to take it to HR for insubordination, he would struggle to explain why under heaven my valid reason for putting him there was snuffed down. He would have to evidence or highlight his indiscretion in this regard. So I sent it anyway, and just as I anticipated he would be too cowardly to go to HR, he left it. He left it alone. I started to notice that they were playing dirty. Guys, it's like time is killing me. I'm really going to try and squeeze this into this one little last section. Long story short, what ultimately happened, because I'm not going to tell the whole story, otherwise I'm never going to get to the point, and I proper don't want to be here for 10 years. Okay. Ultimately, what happened is that my boss, remember, executives are already upset with me because their boss yelled at them. Their boss likes me, who's the CEO. The marketing executive, there was a time when he was celebrating me, loving me with my team because of what we did for him, even sending out an email on some, you gave me a beautiful landing in South Africa, because remember, he came from Nigeria. It was a white guy though. Now all of a sudden, the marketing executive, the executive, had a meeting with my boss. My boss had already changed his mind about me, and he was envious, he was jealous, there was an underground strategy of a shoddy nature that I was not trying to participate in, that I noticed that they were trying to elevate some people and bring others low. He then called, he then entered into a meeting with this executive, and instead of protecting me the way that he always had protected me before, the two of them agreed that I need to be removed off the program. And I believe the executive told him, find an excuse, do whatever you want to do, but I want someone else on this program. I don't like this girl. Long story short, they didn't like me because I was not prepared to play politics. I was transparent, and once upon a time his ego got bruised because his boss yelled at him for me highlighting dissensions in his team. And so now they were like, she gotta go. It was about the fact that I was a young black woman and an apparent nobody that came out of nowhere. And now all of a sudden, this is happening when she is here. And people are starting to get happy that are ignored and marginalized and disregarded. People that have really pulled their weight and done a lot. I've acknowledged them. And so morale is increasing. So the thing that they're failing to do in their own teams, I'm succeeding to do. I'm building morale. I'm helping people get seen. Essentially enabling their stats should retrenchments come to their team. Marketing was next with a wave of downsizings. I was therefore looked at as she's not a team player, and by a team player as in she is trying to be a good Samaritan. She is trying to be a good person in a position where only wickedness thrives. You can't be senior if you don't want to kiss certain buttock, if you don't want to proliferate the agenda of certain people, if you don't want to basically play dirty, you don't get to get a promotion. I lost my job because I lost my job because I was a Christian. I lost my job because I had standards, I had moral virtue. There are certain things that I refused to do. There are certain things that I wouldn't do because they were unfair. Standing on the Holy Spirit's conviction. And I was not even bringing religion into my job, I was just being egalitarian. And apparently, allegedly, in a corrupt organization like MTN, you don't get to become a senior manager, a program manager, a general manager unless you have done something shoddy, unless you are prepared to basically ally with the right people. That's why the company was falling apart. It was not proliferating strategy to grow the company and pump blood into it. It was pushing people along whether or not they were good at what they did. It was, no wonder it was bleeding. They were firing. They started out firing a whole bunch of staff that did not have it coming. Then they started to fire within the senior management. And then people started to play dirty. And in playing dirty, realized we got to protect each other. So they concocted little secret societies on the ground. And when then a person is facing promotion, they were looking at them on some, she could be one of the members of our secret society. And when I refused to bow down to evil practices and deliberately sabotaging people's careers, because that program was that important, people could keep their jobs or lose them at the end of it. When I refused to play that game, they then were like, she gotta go. On top of that, we got yelled at because of her. The next morning, a meeting was organized for me. Oh yeah, I then sent the Kingy. There was this girl. Remember hey, time is slapping me. Yes, one. Remember this girl that that I told you I was close with, and she became odd and weird. A project manager that was giving me grief, right? This chick was lazy. She was deliberately dragging her body through the mud in this program. It was a program, so project managers were running projects in it, and she was the only project manager that was not pulling her weight. And her situation was so bad that her staff, I can't really call them staff, but her resources on her projects that were reporting into her, like the business analysts, the segment managers, were complaining. They were coming to me on some the other day we had a meeting. I see you. We organized our own meeting because she would not do one. She's literally just sitting around. It's like she's coming to work and doing nothing. And my boss couldn't stand her. He would gossip her. He used to swear a lot. He used to use a lot of profanity. And there was something named Boragayana, but whatever. He was in the world. Nobody's perfect. When, he was yet to know the Lord. He would use all different kinds of expletives whenever he was talking about her to me. On some, she is annoying. What is she doing? Why does she even gather a salary every year, every month? I don't understand what I'm paying her for. Blah blah. Yeah, my boss I told you we were close, and he would sometimes literally rant to me using all different kinds of expletives about this girl. When both of us were struggling with her, I tried to get this girl to do certain things, to get her act together, showing her emails from her own team members saying she didn't even come to the meeting. So I was not picking on her at all, and she would ignore me. I would escalate it to my boss, and she would ignore my boss. She would but she was not scared. It's like she felt like she was walking on water or something. I don't know. So ultimately, this chick, what is this? I sent this whole thing, this exchange between us, me and this woman. I then sent her a private email. Awesome, what's going on? Why aren't you? What's happening? Why are you acting funny? And then when I sent her a response on email, when I sent her a private email without looping anybody else in, she then brought personal matters forward. You used to be my friend, and now I don't even recognize you anymore. And besides, I don't owe you anything. I was like, Chickie, I am a program manager over a program, one of the projects of which, two of the projects of which you are project manager. So you're gonna have to report into me on that project. You don't have to, however, talk to me as a friend. We don't have to get cappuccino together anymore. Get that? And she did not respond to that email. However, she didn't respond to that email, but she also did not do what she needed to do. Morning. I get an email, not next morning, next day. My boss comes to my desk and is like, Karabo, let's say her name was Patricia. Karabo, Patricia, let's go to this particular boardroom now. We have to talk about this matter now. And he's talking with a tone where he's basically yelling at both. Nkara, I've done something. Last time I checked, both of us agreed that this chick is not pulling her weight. Both of us agreed. I sit in this meeting literally confident that my boss is going to rebuke this woman and tell her, you are going to do what you need to do, because at the end of the day, it's your job. This is the very thing that I'm talking about with Israel right now. They are right. They are right. And you expect the world to be like, Israel, you gotta do what you gotta do to protect yourself as a country. And yet there are people who are thoroughly standing with Hamas in a strange way. And this is what happened with me. This is what happened with me. I was shocked out of my mind at this meeting. When I got there and my boss was giving me attitude. He was giving me attitude. Like proper. I did not understand what I did. I had gone through all the protocols that I needed to do to deal with this woman. And he treated me in that meeting like I was some child with another child on the school playground that are fighting each other. and we both just need to get our act together. However, he was sitting on the same side of the desk with this child, and when we went to the meeting, the three of us together, I noticed she had a strange confidence and a calm in her. She also was Indian. I could not understand for the life of me what in the world was happening. That meeting caught me off guard. It shocked the living daylights out of me. It surprised me because I expected my boss to rebuke an irresponsible resource, paper trail, evidence of her irresponsibility, her tardiness, team members, emails sent to me that I forwarded to him, telling me what kind of a project manager doesn't pitch to her own meeting. We had to run the show without her, and they were crying about her. And I get yelled at and rebuked in this meeting. At which point I was like, Yazini boss, I don't know what's happening over here. I am frankly quite confused. Whatever is going on between you and Patricia, I don't want anything to do with it. And I walked out. I was like, whatever's going on between you and Patricia, I don't want anything to do with it. Because I was basing that on the fact that you've got the data and the evidence to understand why there's even an issue between Patricia and I. It's more professional than it is private and personal. Why are you taking her side? I could not understand it. My boss was basically told by the executive of marketing, find an excuse to take this chick off the program. I don't want her. And he made a decision then to use the issue that I am having with this woman to get me off the program. And because I walked out of that meeting, because I noticed his bias that was strangely placed, given all the data, the information, that even if he were to take this matter to HR, for crying out loud, I would win. Yet another thing that I'm talking about earlier when I came with Israel. When I came talking about Israel. Israel has got data in favor of it. Information stands for them. The exculpatory evidence is in favor. And yet they've got to bend over backwards and show all different kinds of strange footage just to convince the world why they have to go into Gaza to obliterate Hamas. They don't have to do it because all the data in the run-up to is in favor of Israel. But strangely, everybody around is taking the side. Ghana, I imagine. Hamas. This chick was like Hamas. She had invaded my land. And my boss made a decision to stand with her even though all the information, like literally afflicting her case. When I walked out, guess what my boss did? He threw out that case because he knew it would not hold water. He knew that case would not hold water. And he then took me to HR for walking out on a meeting, basically for insubordination. The next morning, I am in a meeting. Do you understand? I'm in a meeting, like a project meeting, and I get an invitation from a lady from HR for the next 15 minutes to go to that meeting. And then I get a text message from my boss, and he's like, you don't have an option, you can't miss this meeting. So they also attacked me with a meeting from HR because I was working so hard every single day doing the work that I was doing. I sent out a morning email to the whole team, evening or an afternoon email to the whole team before I could send out my morning email to the whole team. He was like, be in this meeting so that they will not get your, what do you call this? Your email. I'm going to replace you. Guys, I go to this meeting. When I get there, I'm expecting it to be a continuation of the HR, of the meeting with that girl. But this time around, he brought HR on board. Apparently, allegedly, because he can't quite mediate between me and this girl by himself. So he had to bring in HR. I was expecting that girl to be there. I was expecting that Indian girl to be there in that meeting. It was just me, him, and HR. And in that meeting, I was told that I am suspended off the program with effect immediately. And the reason for it is because I sent such a meeting and it annoyed the marketing executive, the meeting of which was approved, email of which was approved by, what do you call this thing? By the CEO. It was trumped up charges. They had come up with them from whatever orifice in their body. That's what I'm trying to explain to you guys. So even me walking out of the meeting with him and that girl was not the thing that they raised. I was so shocked. The fact that that chick was not at that meeting. I was like, my goodness, a meeting with HR, I can see it. Maybe, yeah. But where is that other woman? That's the real issue here. She's the one that needs to be reported to HR. Instead, I was just removed off the program and they came up with things that I didn't understand. I was so shocked that I cried. It was a Friday afternoon and my tears, me bursting out into them, caused the HR lady to be sad. She just did the job, Nje, that my boss said she must do. We want to remove her from the program and we need you to be here. I wasn't suspended immediately straight away. But when I went home, it all dawned on me I suddenly realized I asked to go home because I was in pain. And when I cried, not only did this woman get sad, but my boss also was very uncomfortable because he had obviously sabotaged me in some way. They planned it. So for me, it was like that promise of promotion at the end of 3 months, it was gone. This is messing with my career now. It's all gone. And I'm all of a sudden removed off the program and I don't know what I've done. I don't know what I've done. Plus, it's going to make me look bad in front of my colleagues. No. I'm also doing really well and I'm trusted. And an email is expected to come from me every single evening as to what's going on. So when I got home, I realized that I've been sabotaged. I realized that I've been squeezed out. It all dawned on me. I started to think about everything that had happened. So I very smartly, very intelligently made a decision to send what do you call this? Oh, and guess who it is that they gave my program to? My former boss who had been demoted to project manager, who was bragging in that position that I had stood for and protected in some other email some time ago. Do you understand? And because she was always afflicting me and sabotaging me and burying me and even giving me appraisal scores that don't make sense during the time when I was her subordinate, because I've always had these bad bosses, I told you, until this guy, and then he also went awry. This woman ended up, no, I can't say she betrayed me. She's always had it in for me. But for her, it was like I got removed off the program in favor. Oh, and my boss also didn't like her because remember, she was the candidate with whom they were supposed to, she was the one that was supposed to get that job, but he got it. And so she did not respect him as a boss. And she was never at his meetings as a subordinate under him. So he could not stand her. He could not stand her because she used to insubordinate him. And then he decided to go and give that program of mine to her. From what the Lord showed me after I lost everything, she fell apart in that program. She couldn't hold it the way that I did. But that's not the story that I'm telling right now. Ultimately, that suspension, because of the suspension, and I realized what they were doing, I sent a closeout email, like a handover. Since I couldn't send an email reporting the day's events, I sent rather a handover to show everybody in the team that I've been removed ever so suddenly. I have been removed from the program. Unfortunately, uncomfortably, and illegally. Overnight, without any of y'all being told in advance, it happened suddenly in the morning to a point where I went home in the morning. As soon as I came into the office, I left. I was allowed to leave because I was very sad. So my boss was like, fine, you can go home. He let me go. So when I was writing the handover to the person who would take over, he told me that he's going to give the program over to her. When I wrote the handover, I CC'd the whole team. Because I'm handing over a project, you guys. I'm handing over a project. So I'm going to CC the whole team so they can know that I was suddenly removed from the program. And that's what got me suspended without notice from my job. I sent a handover email to the whole team. The whole team. Do you understand? And that was Friday, remember? Monday morning, I had another meeting with HR where they called me, see me immediately. She gave me attitude in that meeting and told me that I am suspended with immediate effect. She walked me to my desk as I packed up and walked me to the turnstiles, took my laptop, left me with just my cell phone, and told me that we'll be in contact with you for the disciplinary hearing. I got suspended for sending a handover email to the whole team that I was running for an entire month on a program that had not been told that I was leaving. That's how I lost my job. Did any of you smell or pick up even a whiff of wrongdoing in me in the story I just told you? I'm going to fast track this conversation real quickly so I can be in the shower at least by 11 p.m. because I got a curfew. Now that I've been made like a child, let me move on to the next part to do that. My suspension. It's another story for another day. The story, it's long. Usually when you get suspended, according to rules to HR, they gotta have a disciplinary hearing within like a week or two or something. And finalize whatever's going on with you. Plus, you cannot suspend a person with immediate effect from their job unless they had done an egregious, what do they call it again? Misconduct, some misconduct of an egregious nature. Otherwise, they have to be given a first written warning, a second written warning, then suspension that could lead to dismissal. I was immediately suspended, leading to a dismissal based on apparently an egregious thing that I did. It got me suspended with immediate effect. I lost my whole career on this story that I just told you now. I am sitting at home doing nothing right now, having lost it like proper. When I say gratuitous, it's gratuitous. At the same time, I was being persecuted by my family. I was being afflicted. My mom and I were fighting. I told you I was living in a new apartment. I didn't even have furniture. I was sleeping on a sponge on the floor. My mother makes a decision to walk into MTN during my suspension because I wouldn't take her calls. And she then lies and says about me that I am a mental patient. She's scared I'm going to commit suicide. She needs my medical aid details. And HR gave my mom my medical aid details during my suspension without even calling me first. And HR then makes a decision to change the charges that they put. Abuse of the condition of trust, of the position of trust. Yeah. Abuse of the position of trust. That was the reason code that they gave on my immediate suspension letter. What trust did I abuse? By sending an email sharing the details of my removal from the program with immediate effect, and also writing what I'm handing over to the person that's taking the project over to me, CCing the whole program since they were used to me as their program manager, and now I'm gone. And I got suspended for something called abuse of the position of trust. And then HR, because that case would not hold water, they then decided to use the fact that my mom walked in and said I'm crazy and suicidal. Because my mom was looking for my medical aid details so she could throw me in a mental asylum, a psychiatric hospital. And the reason she wanted to do that was because I was already having a personal altercation with my mom about involvement by her and my older sister in witchcraft. So a private issue came to the office. They gave her my medical aid details, booked me into a psychiatric hospital, and then my company was like, the only can be used to bring Karabo back. She can only come back to work for us at MTN when she gives us a report from the doctor at the psychiatric hospital that she has been booked into. What does that have to do with my job? So when I say that I am sitting on a multi-million rand lawsuit against MTN, understand it's true. The doctors at the psychiatric, my mom caused my landlord to break down the door using the police when I first wouldn't open, dragging me in front of my neighbors, embarrassing me because of having been given private details of mine by MTN. And my sister called the psychiatric hospital pretending she is me, saying that I want to check myself in because it's one of those voluntary check-in psychiatric hospitals. You can't just involuntarily be brought into that place like a really truly crazy person. And so my sister lied to my insurance, to my medical aid, and to the psychiatric hospital. When I arrived there, the nurse was shocked to see me because I was in my wits. And apparently, allegedly, I had checked myself in. My mom threatened me and told me to stay. Within a day, the doctors had just discharged me. There was nothing wrong with me. My church came into the picture, persecuted me with my family during the same time. It's a long story for another day. But MTN was waiting for the report of the doctor to basically say, Karabo's mind is loco. They were trying to discredit me. They were trying to revile my name. Defamation of character. To say that Wahlanya, but she's recovered, she can come back to work, but as a project manager, and I would ever be looked at by my colleagues like this crazy woman that lost her mind. Like proper, they were trying to use the thing that my mom said until doctors set me free with no issue. That's when MTN then sat on my case. Oh, and shortly after suspending me, before the whole incident with my mother, the HR lady called me, trying to sweet talk the living daylights out of me, but she was not upfront. She did not speak with words that I could understand. I believe what happened over there is that the CEO asked, where is my program manager? Bring her back. And they had to cajole and sweet talk me back into the office, but she wanted to make me apologize for something I hadn't done. And so the conversation ended kind of sourly. On some, I guess I'll wait for the disciplinary hearing. Bye. So I lost my job once and for all because of that. The disciplinary hearing was supposed to happen immediately. Instead, they sat on my case for something like 5 months. In the time of which, once I did finally get sent a letter of a dismissal from my job. Dismissal. First they said I read to UIF, Unemployment Insurance Fund. They said that I resigned. Guys, they said I resigned. So I couldn't claim UIF because you can't claim UIF when you quit your job. But to Investec, they said that I was dismissed. And when you get dismissed, you can't claim the shares that you have had allotted to you as a staff member. So they deliberately made sure I had no money. No money. And they took forever and a day to pay me out my pension monies, which I was going to use to try and send them to court. But they were going to run me around in circles. I ultimately dropped that decision, knowing that the only way that I'm ever going to win a case against MTN is if somebody decides to sponsor me, take my case up. Because I don't have money to be paying lawyers. That's what happened. That's how my case happened. It's according to the Labor Relations Act, a disciplinary hearing after an immediate suspension has to happen within a certain period of time. MTN took 5 months to send me a dismissal letter to my premises where I used to stay. It writes dismissal. But go UIF, still to this day, if I were to get records from the Unemployment Insurance Fund, they would say that I resigned. So 2 different places are saying 2 different things. My dismissal letter says I'm dismissed. UIF says I resigned. Investec says I was dismissed. And MTN thinks that it has nothing. When I finally, since I got the dismissal letter, I went to the CCMA. I lost the case despite all this evidence. CCMA was paid. Labor court ignored me. What is this? Because I passed the means test, given that I was unemployed. What is that? There is a legal aid board, which is for people who don't have money to afford a lawyer. They can get a pro bono lawyer appointed to them by the state. The legal aid board completely ignored my case, no matter how many times I called them and went back to them to find out what's going on. So I realized that this is just injustice, and it is what it is. Let me try and find a job. And I haven't been able to find a job in 9 years. 9 years. I had sent a lot of emails to MTN letting them know that I'm gonna sue and I'm gonna win millions in a lawsuit. And because of that threat, they made sure that I can never ever earn a salary to successfully sue them, because my case is so strong against them, irrefutably, that they made sure I can't work. So it explains why IQ Business suddenly just didn't take my calls again. So many recruitment agencies would love me, basically be on the edge, sending me my CV over to a company. One of them was the company itself, IQ Business. We were even talking salaries, how much I'm going to be earning when I can start working. And then they suddenly just ghosted me. I am blacklisted, guys. I don't know how it works. I do not know how it works. I know that it is definitely not a law in this country. It would be illegal because it's unconstitutional. But it is entirely 100% possible to blacklist an employee of South Africa from ever working in corporate South Africa again. It's possible. I know that that's true because of what happened to me when I tried to get another job. I am in this position today, still suffering like no man's business. I made a decision about 2 or 3 years ago that I'm not even going to sue. God will deal with them later, and I just want to go and be a wife. I get married, have children, but I'm still sitting around at home gathering dust. So many other things have happened to me, as you would know. So all this work that I do, the stories I tell, the dirty laundry I appear to be exposing of people that haven't had it coming. Understand, I'm like the IDF sharing pretty damaging images of Hamas massacring Israelites in their own territory, in order to explain to them why I gotta do a ground invasion. I don't have to. My evidence was already pretty heavy in 2014. My case ought to have been won at the CCMA. The CCMA tried to get me to take 3 months salary and disappear. I was like, Lasagna, at this point with what you have done, you owe me at least 24 months. And because of that, they made a decision that the decision of the CCMA, why I lost the case, is that apparently, allegedly, I wasn't even supposed to have a case in the first place because of the fact that I resigned. So the CCMA says I resigned, but there was like a UIF that says that I resigned, Investec that says I was dismissed, and I have a dismissal letter saying I was dismissed. They claim I resigned after 5 months of being absent at work. I also have the suspension letter, the abuse of the position of trust, no disciplinary hearing. My case is strong, guys, strong. I am obviously in the right in an irrefutable way. But unfortunately for good old-fashioned Karabo, just like Israel, because of global anti-Semitism, you have to be nervous and scared and play political correctness just to defend yourself against your terrorizer. So all of this attack on me, all of this abuse on me, all of this, why did you even lose your job? Why can't you get a new one now that you've heard the story? Are you still trying to raise an issue? I'm busy showing you decapitated babies. I'm busy showing you burnt bodies of babies. I'm showing you men being killed in point blank in the street, dying right there. And you're still saying to me, Israel is committing crimes against humanity. You're still crying about the people of Gaza when you're not even taking into consideration the fact that Israel has told them to evacuate. Not only that, when they try to evacuate, Hamas puts up posts to prevent them from leaving because they're using them as human shields. And not only that, they've just bombed their own hospital and blamed Israel. When then the news came back around, people are still not trying to hear it. The news are not correcting the narrative. The news networks that have been given evidence by Israel are not reporting the narrative, the true one. They're saying, some people say Israel did it, some people say Hamas did it, when Israel has got exculpatory evidence proving that it was Hamas. And now Israel is having to release through the IDF's YouTube channel some pretty disturbing footage just to help the world understand why we had to protect ourselves and go into Gaza. We can't stay our hand any longer. And as for the Palestinian damage that's going to happen, collateral, it's war, that's what happens, but we want them to leave, but Hamas is using them as human shields. Even building tunnels underneath their houses, underneath hospitals. But the world is still standing with Hamas. That's what happened with me. People saw the travesties that happened to me, and they still stood with MTN. Staff were too scared to stand with me. One guy sent me a text message after I was unfairly suspended and said, if you need somebody to stand by you at the CCMA, I'm there like a bear. When it was time for him to honor his promise, he fled on me. He left. He basically went cold. His feet went cold. He got cold feet. So everybody else that would have stood with me was intimidated by what could happen to their careers if they stand with me. And then everybody else was corrupt and they got away with it. And guess what? That Indian girl that hurt my career, that caused my firing, is still working today, regarded as a whole thriving citizen of a country that is contributing to its economy, having destroyed the future of a colleague and former really good friend. That's my story, you guys. So when I say that I am busy lamenting and I'm crying to God, wondering how long is this war in Israel going to happen and what's going to happen with Israel? Is Israel not going to end up like me, where even though they're completely innocent, there's like a whole bunch of people that are going to insist that for 10 years she gets no justice? If that's the case, can we not just go home? Can we not just get raptured? Can Jacob's trouble just not come? Because it's very exhausting how long it takes for Christians to get justice and how we have to bend over backwards, jump through hoops, do all of these tricks just so people can realize that we are innocent. No, not innocent. They know we're innocent. They just don't care. They will keep on standing with terrorists. And for them, it's about how there's so many more numbers that stand to get hurt in Gaza than what was hurt in Israel. Disproportionate force. But you see, the thing that causes that many numbers is the irresponsible behavior of Hamas. Just like with me, if at all my case were to go to court and any just judge gave me justice, my boss would lose his entire career. MTN would bleed millions from a lawsuit. Everybody that was involved in this thing would lose their careers in one sitting. So a lot of people stand to be tipped over by the one domino that I am. And so apparently, allegedly, Karabo, so now must I be the sacrificial lamb? The sacrificial lamb for all of their careers, so they can stay strong. Must I then die? Mind you, the sacrificial lamb of which I am now currently being made wanted MTN to give her an apology and she will let it go. It's literally been documented on email. I wanted them to give me a public apology. Say we hurt Karabo. Give me my shares. Never mind even winning a case at CCMA. And then I will let this whole thing go. I gave HR that option. Just say sorry so that on paper I don't look like some derelict. So I can go out there in the future and just carry on with my career. And MTN completely ignored that petition. A woman that once upon a time threatened to sue them for millions said, all I want is an apology. And they still did not give me an apology. So, I mean, really, diplomacy failed just as it did with Hamas. But despite all of the hard knock, exculpatory evidence standing in favor of me, I gotta jump through hoops just to prove to people why my cousin, has to be exposed like this. When I keep on saying people are getting to a point where God is gonna kill them now, I appear cold. Everybody's looking at me like I'm using disproportionate force. Exactly. Just like with Israel, they've always been more powerful. So when you invade them, you ought expect to be beleaguered. But just like with Hamas, they are Iranian-backed. They've got other people standing by them. Iran, of which is threatening to create an earthquake in Israel. When a story looks like that, guys, when an ecosystem looks like that, I guess then the intervention of God is nigh. We need supernatural intervention here. We need supernatural intervention because the world is freaking unreasonable. The world is anti-Christian and the world is anti-Semitic, and it's just not going to stop. I am unemployed, going nowhere, doing nothing, losing everything because people made a decision that my life does not matter. But every terrorist's life that has hurt my life, having thrown bombs into my camp and killed babies and my ecosystem, they get to live. Because Karabo, really, there are so many Palestinians around. MTN as a company is employing so many people. What jobs could you cost? What futures could you cost? Ever since then, people have gone on to get married and have children. Where are my children? Where's my marriage? Apparently, I must just let it go. I'm not Jesus. I'm not the sacrificial lamb. I did not stand in the gap for the world. I cannot propitiate for people's sins. I need justice. I am not the justice that God is satisfied with because of my sacrifice. No, I am not Jesus. I am his disciple. So I want justice. Just as Israel is not God. They are his people that will ultimately return to him. They are not him. So you cannot expect them to be as magnanimous as God. You cannot expect Israel to be as magnanimous as God because she is a heavy stone for all the surrounding nations and they're trying to heave her away. So they should be cut into pieces. She is not God. And because she is not God, she cannot just stand back because the barbarians that did this to her will do it again if she does not stand up for herself. But no, first she gotta show us some pretty bad damning evidence of the fact that Hamas really did terrorize us. It's ridiculous. That's all I gotta say. Let's just pray for more, guys. Let's hope that this war is not going to be dragged out for another 10 years, just like my war has been dragged out for 10 years, even though I was supposed to win it all those 10 years ago. 9 years in 2014. It was supposed to be in and out. Go CCMA, win the case. I should be employed right now. Instead, I'm blacklisted all over freaking South Africa. I can't even work. And now YouTube has also shadow banned me. I can't do anything. Essentially, MTN is responsible now for culpable homicide. I am being killed. These are the ramifications. The lawsuit at the time could have been maybe 5 million rands, but after all these extra damages that have been added as a result of what happened back then, all this loss of income, we are looking at way more than 5 million rands. So that multinational corporation could not part ways with 5 million, and for those reasons it destroyed a woman's entire future. And now it's facing a much bigger lawsuit on its hands. And like I told you, MTN has afflicted so many other people. My case is just likely the biggest one, but there are other people like me. So this is standing to be even a class action lawsuit because of the thing that I am. The whole company made a decision with me. I should be smothered and silenced. Who is standing against me at MTN? It's HR executive, the former CEO. Basically, the biggest people running the company made a decision against me. The CEO was culpably responsible for what happened to me, given that he had sight of it. The HR executive was responsible for his staff members for doing what they did to me. The marketing executive over his people. It's big people. And they all pulled their strings to make sure I never work again because I'm just a number. I'm nobody to them, just a person, one random lackluster person, like all the babies they just shot dead because apparently it's one less life that nobody's gonna miss. Except I'm precious in the sight of the Lord. So precious am I that every last hair on my head is numbered and counted. I'm well regarded by God. And my life is beautiful enough for the Son of Man to lay his life down for it. But according to MTN, I'm just collateral damage. Just like all those babies, those women that were raped, just like all those men that were killed, just like that party of children that was shot down, gunned down by Hamas. They're just nothing for the Islamic cause. And Israel has got to explain like no man's business on the rooftops. How? Why? They gotta defend themselves in this regard. It's disgusting. I'm signing out in Christ's name, Quen K. It's exactly 11 on the hour. I'm uncomfortable. My mom's gonna give me grief, whatever. See, the fact that I even have to say my mom is gonna give me grief at 39, that's unacceptable. But according to MTN, you are one person, Karabo, in comparison to 50 others that would have lost their job if you won your case. Invading to get to Hamas. All those casualties that will happen as a result, apparently, allegedly, ought to be stayed from happening. There's just 1,400 Israelis that died. To them, it's just. They say literally J-U-S-T. 1,400 Israelis that died. That's not worth it to get justice. In comparison, 2,000 and counting Palestinians that will pass away in this war. You don't know how to look at a worthy cause. God does, however. The Lord also slaughters men, women, and children. But it's about the cause. I said that initially. Some people just gotta be moved out the way because they're a menace. They're disgraceful. Hamas is using Palestinians as human shields. And if the world stood with Israel, there would not be that many casualties. There wouldn't be in Palestine. Instead, because you're on the fence earth. Now so many Palestinians gotta die in order for Israel to ultimately do what I am trying to do to MTN or to my enemies. People who have gone and taken a life and imagined that it doesn't matter that much in comparison to other lives, so it gets to die. What must I do? Just allow myself to be a sacrificial lamb? I am not God. I cannot propitiate for the whole earth. I cannot just ignore something. I can't just let myself wither away and die without trying to fight for my life. What Israel is doing right now is fighting for its life. You can't just expect it to lie down and do nothing. Take it, Njefel. That's what you're doing. So let's see what God is doing with this. Let's see, guys. I really don't know, but I am frustrated by how it is that the world makes Christians bend over backwards, jumping through hoops just to prove that they've been unjustly mistreated, that they have been unjustly afflicted, that they have had their houses toppled for no other reason than the fact that they're Christian or Jew, even though the evidence is heavy in our favor. We keep on getting lambasted everywhere we go in these streets. Our human rights decimated. People forcing us to do things we don't want to do. Just because we're Christian. Losing cases in countries where the Constitution, the Bill of Rights in that land covers that right that we're fighting for, but they will stand with LGBTQIA+. That is our lives on earth. It's about time God brought this thing to a blistering halt. I'm signing out in Christ's name, Quen K. Bye.